Hello, Peel District School Board, and thank you for joining me on Wellness Wednesday. My name is Sabrina, and I am from the Peel Field Centers. We are part of the Student Learning Support Services. Okay, so today we are going to nature journal together. And nature journaling is just such a great way to slow down, to become mindful of the natural world around us. And there is just so much to learn about the natural world, and nature journaling is a really effective tool to help us become better observers and to really open up our minds and become curious. So this activity can be done inside or outside. I love taking my journal on hikes or even in my own backyard. When you're outside, you can choose to nature journal something as small as a pine cone, or you can choose to nature journal a tree and how it's changing over time. Some options for doing this inside are nature journaling by a window, and you can look out at a bird feeder. You can also choose to look at a live webcam. Some other options indoors could be an indoor plant, or it could be a fruit or vegetable, or even a pet. I am now going to pass you along to one of my nature friends, Billie Jo Reed, and she is going to walk us through the simple yet fun steps of nature journaling. Have fun!
Hi, Sabrina. Thanks so much for that amazing introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Billie Jo, and I also work at the Peel Field Centers. Today, I found a nice place inside my home. It's nice and quiet, and it's in front of a window, which is really quite nice. Today, I have chosen a yellow pepper as my item that I'm going to nature journal with all of you today, and I'm really looking forward to it. Let's get started. Okay, to get started, again, I've chosen this really beautiful yellow pepper to sort of take a closer look and investigate today. The wonderful thing about nature journaling is that it is completely creative. You get to add whatever you want, and you get to do your layout however you want on your page. There's no real rules except for 3 things. So for me, I'm just going to show you how I do it. In the top corner of my page, I always put a little box just up in the top corner. Then I draw another second little line here, and then I write the date in the top. So today is February 24th, 2021. And so I have that up in the top. Next, I'm going to write in the weather. And so to be a little bit more fun, I'm going to use sort of icons to show that it is very cloudy where I am today. You can also use words here if you want as well. Lastly, I'm going to add what region I am in, and today I am in Orangeville. And so I write that in there. The next thing you can do on your page is give it a title if you'd like. So if you know what the name of it is, even if you don't know the name, you can say it's a plant or it's a pine cone or whatever it is. So today I have a yellow pepper. Again, if you mess up and spell something wrong, don't worry about it, right? It's your journal, and you get to kind of be as fun and creative as you want to be. And you can also find fun and creative ways of fixing your mistakes, so to speak. Now, the other really nice thing that I like to do on my journals is to ask myself, how am I feeling today? You know, where am I at? Because nature journaling is a really great way to sort of allow yourself to slow down and sort of clear your mind. And sometimes that helps if we write it down. So you can use an emoji icon to sort of tell how you're feeling, or you can use words. And I might feel that I'm feeling really happy and creative right now. So I'm feeling happy and creative. And I can put that in a little bubble as well if I want to sort of make it stand out. So there's lots of ways to nature journal. We're going to go through sort of one method today, and that's using 3 statements. So we're going to start off with our first statement, and that first statement is I notice. You're going to use words, you're going to use pictures, and you're going to use numbers to help you to describe what it is that you're looking at. So let's start off with pictures. So you're going to look around at your piece of nature and you're going to say it out loud. I notice that this is yellow. I notice that there's 4 distinct lobes on the top. I notice that there is a stem that almost has like a floral pattern on it here. I notice that the stem is quite long, right? So these are the things I want to say out loud. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that on there. Now, this is not about a pretty picture. You are drawing what you see. So the pictures are really the tool. And you can draw different sides of it, or top views, bottom views, side views. So I'm going to start, because this is pretty cool, the top of the pepper. I'm going to start by drawing that top pepper. And again, it's not about a pretty picture. So if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Okay, I notice that there's some shading lines that are kind of coming in here like this. Really trying to put as much detail as I possibly can into the picture. And so now what I want to do is I want to start to say, using my words, what it is that I'm kind of noticing about that first part. So obviously I notice that it has 4 lobes. And so I'm going to use those words. Now, if words are something that you're just not comfortable with yet, don't worry about it, right? There's ways around that. You can draw a great big huge set of eyeballs on your paper, a little nose, fun little mouth, and you can point to the things that it is that you notice. So it doesn't have to be something where we use lots of words, right? So you can keep doing that and point to all the things that you're sort of noticing. Now, again, it's not about a pretty picture. It's not about the world's best spelling. If you want to just write, that it's yellow, but you're like, I can't really remember how to spell yellow, well, then just use a Y. It doesn't matter, right? It's your nature journal. So be as creative and whatever makes sense to you for that. If you have coloring stuff, you may also want to give it, a little bit of color as well. The other thing too that you want to sort of tell yourself in your journal is, you might want to say that this is a top view, right? So you can write somewhere that this is a top view. I might want to make a note that this is kind of wrinkly in here. I'm noticing that the outside of the pepper, the top here, is pretty smooth, but I'm not sure if you can see it. There is wrinkling that's in there. So I might, again, put in there these sort of wrinklies in here. So this is also wrinkled. Now I'm going to separately draw my stem because it's kind of cool. So this is dried up. So I would write that that's dried, right? There's a mark in here. I don't know what that's about. There's definitely like lines that are going all down it. So I'm writing in everything that I'm seeing and noticing. So notice also that I'm not really concerned with whether or not everything is like in perfect lines or whatever. I'm just getting in there and getting excited about, what's going on. And the other thing is, if you have a ruler, which can be really fun, is you can actually measure the height. So I can measure the height of my stem, which is this whole thing is about 6 centimeters. Now, if you don't have a ruler, the end of your pinky finger is about the same as 1 centimeter. So you can count sort of all the way up there. So I'm looking at the width of my pepper. And again, I'm just going to kind of keep just writing in here because it's fun. I'm going to write in here that it's 8 centimeters. So now I'm adding in my numbers. So here's, you got pictures, numbers, and words about everything that's kind of going on. I'm going to add a little bit more color in here. You could also do a side view if you wanted as well, or even the bottom where I have some more really cool sort of markings on the bottom. And the other thing that you can do, which is really fun, if you have an adult handy, or if you're old enough to use a knife on your own, you can cut open your piece of nature. And now you're going to do what's called a cross section. And so this is where you can get really, really exciting to really find out what's going on inside. You can count the number of seeds. There's 4 chambers, just like there was the 4 pods. I'm noticing a very intense smell, so I can talk about that smell. So even though I'm not going to draw a picture of the cross section right now, I'm going to write that when I cut it open, there was an intense smell, right? And so you can start to investigate this, right? I'm noticing that there's a lot of sort of juice that's coming off. I would definitely make a note of that as well. Amazing. So you're going to keep journaling this until you sort of feel like you've investigated every single possible thing that you can about this. And you might get this feeling where you say, well, I'm done. I don't have anything else. And I would suggest to you to push past that feeling of I'm done, and to really look and see if there's anything else that you haven't noticed before. For instance, maybe I might want to open up a seed and see what's inside the seed, which would be really cool. So this can go on for as long as you want. Now, the next section I want to talk about is called I wonder. So again, somewhere on your page, you're going to write the words I wonder. If your words are, you're not super comfortable with them, the other thing I like to do is to write a nice, great, big, huge question mark. If you have an adult handy, an adult is a really great person that can help you sort of scribe your thoughts, which is really great. The other thing too is if our words are not coming to us very well on paper, we can say them out loud. And when we say them out loud, they stick into our brain. So I might say I wonder if this juice will burn my eyes like some other peppers, like jalapenos or cayenne peppers. I wonder why there's 4 chambers. Why is that? And why do the seeds only attach to this sort of foamy layer? I wonder why that is. And now the really cool thing about I wonder is that you can split your questions up into 3 parts. They can be could it be questions, where we can sort of hypothesize some of the answers. They can be let's see questions, which means maybe we're going to do some observations ourselves. And the other one might be questions that we leave it be. And I'll talk about those ones in a second. Some fun ways that I like to do this are sort of making like a word web. So I might ask the question, right? Is this pepper as potent? So I wonder, right? And so I'm going to ask that question. So I can ask that question and just leave it as is. Just have it down here. I can also ask the question of why are the seeds only attached to the white on the inside, to the white part? All right, well, that's a great question. I can probably hypothesize that a little bit with some could it be questions, right? So now I look at this and I say, okay, well, is it because the sponge has pores that make it easy for the seeds to grow in? So is that the reason why? Is there something in this that allows the seeds to grow? So is there some kind of like fertilizer in there that allows those seeds to kind of grow? Will they eventually grow somewhere else? So how many seeds? Well, this is a let's see question. I can count them, right? I can count them. I can also count the seeds in other peppers to see if the seed amount is the same. So I can do that. I can figure that out, right? A leave it be question might be, how much water did it take for this pepper to grow? Now, I can probably maybe take a bit of an estimated guess, things like that, but I don't really know the answer to that. And that's okay, because that's still a really good question, but it might not be one that I'm able to find right now. So I would continue writing as many questions, as many I wonders as I possibly had. And you can connect them. So see here, I've connected some of mine with these little arrows. So sometimes you have to ask a question, and then you realize that you have to kind of ask a question before that question or answer it before you're able to move on, which is really kind of interesting. So be curious about what's going on and dig in. Maybe you need to get out a spoon. Maybe you need to cut your item in a different way. What's the texture? What's going on inside of this pepper? I don't know, right? I don't know. Mine looks pretty symmetrical, but I've seen other peppers that aren't so symmetrical. So why is that? What is going on? And that's where this I wonder comes into play and is so important with nature journaling. Now, I don't want you to feel stressed in that, oh my gosh, now I have to find the answers to all these questions. You don't. That's the wonderful thing about a nature journal, is that you've written the questions down. Sometimes you can go and do some research, or you can count the seeds and you can find out the answers right away. Other times, you might just want to leave those questions out there And because at some point in your life, you might come across that answer naturally. And then you can always come back into your journal and re-add them in. A nature journal isn't necessarily about finding the answers immediately. It's about learning how to ask the questions and learning how to be curious about the phenomenon that's in front of us, which is really, really exciting. So our last section that we're going to do is the It Reminds Me Of. Now, this part is where we make connections. And this is really important because you want to allow your mind to think about something that you already know about, some other knowledge, because it may help you in answering some of these questions, or it may even help you to ask more questions and to be more curious. So what does it remind you of? Does it remind you of something else? Does it remind you of someone else, maybe an experience with someone? Or does it make you think of an experience in itself, right? Like maybe it reminds you of a picnic you had one time because the smell has triggered something. So what does this remind you of? There's a couple ways you can do that. Obviously, you can write it with words. The other thing that you can do, which is sort of fun and add a little bit of extra to your journal, is you can draw yourself in a little stick figure way. And then you can draw what it reminds you of in these sort of really fun thought bubbles. So, for instance, the middle of it definitely reminds me of a sponge. So I might sort of draw this sponge in here, and it's got sort of holes that are kind of in here. So that center reminds me of a sponge. And so that makes me wonder then, well, if it feels like a sponge and it reminds me of a sponge, and I know that a sponge holds water, does this compartment in the center of the pepper hold water for the pepper? And does it then transport it out to the rest of the pepper? Like, I wonder, right? So that's what I know about sponges. And then that's how I'm comparing it. And you can continue kind of going here and writing, all these different I wonders. When I noticed at the top here, remember, we noticed that it was kind of like a flower shape. So I might write down here again that it reminded me of a flower. The top of the pepper was like a 6-petaled flower. And so then I might say to myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it kind of reminds me of a 6-petaled flower. So now I would say to myself, well, I wonder, right? Or I wonder if it reminds me of a 6-petaled flower, does the flower that comes before this pepper, does it have 6 petals? And is there any correlation between those two? So I think my connection has actually now got me to ask another I wonder question. So I wonder, does the flower of the pepper have 6 petals? Like, does it? I wonder, right? So again, sometimes all of these things just keep connecting together to be able to sort of get to the nitty gritty of what is going on inside of this miraculous plant that I have here in front of me, which is really cool. So you keep going and going and going. And again, you might have that feeling of I'm done, but you're going to kind of push past it and see, is there something else? I kind of thought maybe I was done with my I wonders. But then when I started to did my It Reminds Me Of, it got me back into I wonders. And so I'm going to keep adding into that. As you look, you might also start to notice some more details, right? The other detail is I didn't really write down, and I'm now realizing that how tall my pepper is. Does that have any correlation with anything? So let's do this. Oh, I'm also just noticing right now that this side of the pepper is about 8 centimeters, but this side is about 10 centimeters. So then I want to write that down, right? And so for me, I would probably have to bust out a second piece of paper because I've just gotten too excited here to be able to do that. So I might write myself in here like a little note, carve out some space. One side, this is kind of exciting. It's a bit of a wow moment for me. Wow, one side of pepper is 8 centimeters. The other is 10 centimeters. and then why, right? And I might put in like a big question mark here because why is that happening? So the last thing I want to do before we sort of finish up is to now re-ask myself, how am I feeling after, I've sort of put my brain on paper, which is kind of fun. So how am I feeling now? Well, now I'm going to say, I'm actually feeling really, really excited. So I'm going to have to change my emoji face, to one with great big huge teeth because I'm so excited. So now I'm excited. I'm definitely way more curious than I was before. In terms of like, it's a little bit messy, it's a little bit all over the place, but it's exactly kind of how my brain is thinking, which is kind of fun to think about it like that. So I might go back in and I might add in some color, make some few things stand out. But that's really what I was thinking in that moment, opening up this pepper and finding out all the beauty that's inside of it. So I hope that you've enjoyed this session, and I hope that you've journaled along with me, and that your paper kind of, looks something like mine, where you've really put your brain on the paper and asked lots of questions, and we're able to remain really curious. There's no bad questions. So remember to always ask questions. And it doesn't matter if you know the answers right away. Keep asking your questions. Keep being curious. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me and my yellow pepper today.
So we hope that you really see how nature journaling can deepen our observations and gets us thinking and helps us to really build that confidence in asking questions in and out of the classroom. Thank you to all staff and students for your participation today. If you enjoyed this activity, be sure to continue nature journaling as much as you wish. And remember, it's a great way to slow down and to be mindful of the natural world around us. If you have any questions or to find out more of what we did today, please feel free to reach out to the Peel Field Centers. We would love to hear from you. And thank you again, everybody. Bye for now.